Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome po to my channel. This is Sir Calculator, and if you are new to my channel, bago po ang lahat, you can click subscribe and hit the bell button para po sa notification for new videos. Okay, so by now, I will share to you a topic which is one of the 10 steps of accounting cycle. So if we will try to remember, there are 10 steps of accounting cycle. So para po doon sa walang accounting background, it's okay lang po. You can still watch this video kasi i-discuss ko naman po sa inyo, and this is just basic. So doon naman po sa mayroon ng background sa accounting, especially if accounting graduate, at least meron po tayong additional insights about one of the 10 steps of accounting cycle. If you are student na nag-take up ng isang course na hindi major ang accounting but still nasa field po ng business, this is also helpful kasi this is one of the topics doon this is one of the topics, subject doon sa kinukuha mong course, and this can help you na magkaroon ka ng knowledge about basic bookkeeping. So this is also this video is also intended para po doon sa mayroong negosyo na kaagad na establish ng kanilang negosyo na wala pa silang idea about bookkeeping. So this will help you a lot. So please don't skip the video at tapusin po natin ang video because at the end is marami po tayong matututunan dito. So if you can see dito po sa aking screen, you can see the 10 steps of accounting cycle dito. So if I will unclear this, so we have here the 10 steps of accounting cycle. Di po ba? So just a review, merong analyzing, journalizing transaction, posting from the journals to the general ledger, preparing the unadjusted trial balance, recording adjusting entries, preparing the adjusted trial balance, preparing FS, recording closing entries, preparing closing trial balance, recording reversing entries. So bakit ko po ito pinakita sa inyo? Just to share with you na yung i-discuss ko po ngayon ay isa sa steps dito sa accounting cycle at magpo-focus lang po tayo dito sa journalizing. So now, ang gagawin ko po is we will try to simulate a particular transactions that happened in a particular year na atin po siyang i-journalize kunyari. So I will try to visualize to you kung paano po mag-journalize ng transaction. How to make journalizing entries. So ito po. This is sample. The following were the transactions that occurred for Pedro's small business. Okay, yung owner po dito is Pedro. So take note na si Pedro po is an individual, and since he is an individual, his business can be considered as sole proprietor. Okay? Yung silent naman yung problem, so mag-isa lang siya na owner, so sole proprietor po ang ating business. So ang sunod kong gagawin is unclear ko ito. Yan. Noong January 3, 2000X, Pedro established a small business. Thereafter, he invested 5,000 in cash. Okay. So si Pedro po ay nag-establish ng isang small business and nag-invest po siya ng 5,000 in cash. So paano po natin i-journalize ang particular transaction nito? So punta po tayo sa Excel. So dito sa Excel is meron po tayong date. So ilalagay po natin dito sa date kung kailan po nangyari yung transaction. So January 3, 2000X. Okay, ilagay natin. January 3, 2000X. So January 3, January 3, January 3, 2000X. Yan. January 3, 2000 So if you are using a columnar book, usually yun naman po yung ginagamit, much better na mag-practice po tayo sa columnar book. So hindi ako gagamit ng columnar book ngayon kasi masyadong maliliit o masyadong maliit, so hindi makikita. So I decided to use an Excel para po mas makita ninyo at ma-visualize yung kung paano po siya i-journalize. Yun nga lang po is Excel lang ang gagamitin ko. So, but normally, ito po, yung nasa taas is ito po yung makikita natin doon sa columnar. Okay. So, ano po yung first transaction natin? Pedro established a small business. Thereafter, he invested 5,000 in cash. Okay. So, let us analyze first transaction. So, since nag-invest po si Pedro ng 5,000, alalahanin po natin ang ating accounting equation na tinatandaan po natin accounting equation, which is assets equals liabilities plus D. Yan. Say. So, assets plus liabilities equals D. So, yan yung accounting equation. So, yung accounting equation natin, dapat balanse po yan. Now, he invested 5,000 in cash. So, mayroon po tayong clue na in cash. So, meaning, since cash po siya, yung mangyayari niyan, yung ma-receive nating cash, is yung effect niya is mag-i-increase naman po yung ating asset. So, let us take note na meron po tayong tinatawag na economic entity concept na kung saan yung business is separate separate from the owner. Yun po yung concept. Basta yung concept po na yun is separate from yung individual, yung owner at yung business is separate. So, entity concept po na yan. So, since we are journalizing for the business, it is as if ibang tao po tayo si entity. So, we are now going to journalize or ibubookkeep po natin ang nangyaring transaction. So, yung unang transaction is si Pedro, yung owner, ay nag-invest siya sa business, sa ating business. Yan. Okay. Anong na-receive po natin? Cash. So, mag-debit po tayo ng cash. Take note na ang normal balance po ni cash ay debit. So, once na mag-debit tayo ng cash, ang mangyayari niyan is that mag-i-increase siya. In what amount? 5,000. Kapag mag-increase si asset, ano naman po ang amount given away or value parted with? Tingnan po natin. Investment. So, nag-invest ang owner, si Pedro. So, since nag-invest siya, yung account title na gagamitin natin dito is capital kasi investment. Since this is a sole proprietorship business. So, pwedeng ilagay natin dito, Pedro Capital. Pedro Capital is an entity. Equity account, So, equity account, nag-increase di po ba? So, ang nangyari, yung effect dito sa cash, since asset siya, increase. Si Pedro Capital is an equity account. Since nag-credit tayo ng Pedro Capital amounting to 5,000, ang normal balance sa capital is credit, nag-increase din po siya. Now, tingnan natin dito sa ating accounting equation. Nag-increase si asset equals, may effect sa liability? Wala. Okay? Walang effect kay equity, kay liability. But nag-increase po yung equity natin, which is capital. So, nag-increase by 5,000. Therefore, ang mangyayari niyan, 5,000 equals 5,000 pa rin. So, equal ang ating counting equation. So, since equal ang ating accounting equation, tama ating formula. Okay, tama ba? Yes, tama. Okay, so the next transaction happened on February 1, 2000X. So this is the transaction. Pedro borrowed 8,000 from a bank with 12% stated annual interest. The bank charges that he has paid relating to the loan amounted to 14 pesos. How are we going to journalize this transaction? Okay, let's analyze first the transaction. Pedro borrowed 8,000 from a bank. Okay, since we borrowed from a bank, obviously our liability will increase. So, let's put a data for the date. That was February 1, 2000X. Then, since we borrowed from the bank and we received cash out of this transaction, we will debit cash amounting to how much? 8,000 pesos. Then, since we borrowed, our liability will increase. What particular account are we going to use? That is loans payable. Amounting to 8,000 pesos. After that, let's analyze if balance pa rin po ang ating accounting equation. Cash. Normal balance is debit. Nag-debit tayo ng cash amounting to 8,000. Nag-increase C. Loans payable. Liability. Normal balance ng liability is credit. Nag-credit tayo ng 8,000. It will increase. Now, let's take a look to the accounting equation, which is asset equals liabilities plus equity. Yan. Asset nag-increase by how much? 8,000 pesos. Liabilities, here, loans payable, nag-increase by 8,000 pesos. How about the equity? May effect ba sa equity? Wala, it's 0. So 8,000 plus 0 is 8,000. 8,000 is equivalent to 8,000. Therefore, our accounting equation is still equal. So, tama ba na loans payable ang ginamit natin? Yes. Since binaro natin siya or humiran tayo ng fund from the bank. Okay. Then, the bank charges that bank charges. Noong nangutang si Pedro ng 8,000 pesos, mayroong bank charges na i-charge yung bank sa kanyang utang, which amounts to 14 pesos. Okay lang, medyo mababa, but still, this must be accounted for. So, ano po ang 14 pesos na ito o yung bank charges? Bank charges is an expense, bank service fee na charge ni bank sa mga borrowers, sa loan borrowers. So, paano natin siya i-analyze? So, bank charges is an expense account. And, na-mention ko kanina na ang expense account ay mayroong debit normal balance. The normal balance niya is debit. Since normal balance niya is debit, lagay natin dito bank service fee or bank charges na lang. Bank charges or bank service fee expense. Then, amounting to 14 pesos. 14. So, same date. Same date. And, noong time na nagkaroon ng bank charges, ano naman ang nangyari? Syempre, since bank charges ito, binayaran natin siya in cash. So, mangyayari, binayaran natin siya in cash. 14 pesos. Okay, tingnan natin ang ating entry. Bank charges expense, cash, yun yung binayad natin. Normal balance ni bank charges is debit. So, increase. Increase or decrease? Normal balance niya is debit. Yes, for the increase is expense. Increase, expense. Ayan. Remember this? Increase in expense. Cash. Ano nangyari kay cash? Since this is the value received or the amount received or a particular account na in-account natin is debit into bank charges expense or expense, cash is the amount na ibinayad natin. Since ibinayad natin siya, yung cash ay nabawasan. So, decrease. Decrease in asset. Decrease in asset. So, let's analyze the transaction. Ang nangyari, nag-decrease daw po si asset. Tama. Kasi nagbayad eh. Cash, decrease. So, yan. Tama? Negative 14. Nilagay na lang natin negative 14. Decrease. Paano to kasi increase? Sabihin nyo. Paano po yan? Kasi increase to. Increase in expense. Yes, it is an increase in expense. Kasi po yung pinag-uusapan natin dito is yung normal balance. Yes, normal balance is debit. Mag-i-increase talaga si expense. But if we are talking here about the accounting equation, we must refer to the effect of the account titles we used to the accounting equation. Ano yung effect nung nag-increase ang expense? Ano ang effect nito dito sa equity? Hindi po natin pwedeng sabihin na porket nag-increase si expense, ang ilalagay mo or ang pag-analyze mo na sa accounting equation is increase na din. No? Because expense at the end of the year is close to equity. And then expense decreases an equity. Okay? So since ang effect ng increase in expense is a decrease in equity, ang mangyayari niyan, magdi-decrease din po si equity. Okay? Kasi nag-increase ang expense po natin. Expense is a deduction to your income or revenue. Diba? So, ganito. Okay, ganito na lang. Ganito po. Ano po ang structure ng income statement? Kasi po, this is an income statement account. So, ano po yung structure ng income statement natin? Sales minus expenses. Deduction po ng sales expense. Lahat. Operating expense equals your net sales or net income. Sales or income less expenses equals net sales or income. So ngayon, since yung increase dito kay expense, kung nag-increase ito, let's say yung expense natin is 10 pesos at yung sales natin is 50 pesos. Meron tayong 40 pesos. But since nag-increase daw ang expense natin ng 14 pesos, so let's say 10 plus 14, that is 24. example, 50 lang. Ayan. 50 minus 24 is magkano? 26. Ayan. Tingnan po ninyo ang effect kung nag-increase. Remember, yung ina-account natin is increase in expense. Tingnan po ninyo ang effect. Yung dalawang separate transaction na ginawa. Diba? Dito 15. Okay, same income. Yung expense from 10 naging 24. Since this expense is a deduction from your revenue or your sales income, since deduction po siya, yung mangyayari niyan, since nag-increase, liliit ang income. Di po ba? From 40 naging 26. So yung effect niya is a decrease in equity. Bakit? Saan papasok si net sales? Since this is a nominal account or ito ay naklo-close sa books natin na account at ito ay napupunta sa equity. Therefore, there is an increase in expense, there must be a decrease in equity. Ito po ang ina-account natin. Ito po ang ating ina-analyze whenever we are talking about accounting equation. Here. The effect. Not here. Normal balance po kasi pinag-usapan dito. Okay? So since decrease in equity, ang mangyayari, since walang effect kay liability is 0, plus effect kay equity, 40, decrease. Still, our accounting equation is equal. Okay? So yun po. Tapos na tayo doon. So okay na tayo doon. Okay? Sometimes, yung nangyayari po dito, pwede po tayong gumawa ng compound journal entry. So, para isahan na lang ito, pag-isahin na lang natin itong transaction na to, yung mangyayari niyan, magiging compound entry na siya. Gagawin natin itong compound entry. Okay? So, tingnan natin. Tingnan natin kung paano mag-compound. Basic compound entry. Para doon sa mga student natin na nanonood ngayon sa ating discussion, sa ating sharing of knowledge. Okay. Debit. Cash. Ilang amount ang i-debit natin sa cash? Is it 8,000? Still 8,000? No. Hindi na siya magiging 8,000. Less po natin yung 14 pesos. That must be 7,986. Ano pang ibang account? Bank charges. Since it is an expense, nalagay natin si bank charges dito. Bank charges amounts to ilang amount? 14. Yes. And ang last na ating i-account is yung loans. Okay. Loans payable amounting to how much? Is it 7,986 or 8,000? Of course, it is 8. Tingnan mo. Compound entry mo for that particular period, 2000x. Kung gagamit ka po ng compound journal entry, ito po yun. 8,000 loans payable. Pero ang na-receive mo na lang na cash is 7,986 net. Na po yan ng bank charges na i-charge sa iyo ni bank since nag-borrow ka ng money sa kanila. The effect, still, it is equal. 8,000 and 8,000. Okay? So, yun po ang paggawa ng compound journal entry at yung effect sa ating accounting equation sa pag-analyze. Okay, next transaction. Yan. Yan natin. February 20, 2000X, Pedro paid 318 of office supplies. Basic. Dali lang po to. Noong February 20, X. Yan. Pedro paid office supplies 380. Debit natin sa office supplies amounting to 380. Office supplies is an asset account. It increases your asset. Okay? Normal balance of asset, debit. Debit ka ng 318, effect, increase. Okay? Yung analyzation po natin dito sa particular this particular moment is yung effect na sa ating assets, sa ating accounting equation. Paid. So meaning, bayad. Paid in cash. Amounting to 300. Normal balance ni asset is normal balance is debit. But nag-credit ka. So ang nangyari, decrease. Effect kay asset. Kaya nga natin yung ating accounting equation. Accounting equation equals liabilities plus equity. Office supply is an asset, that is an increase in asset. Liability, may effect? Wala. Equity, may effect? Wala. Ano mangyayari ngayon? Since these two accounts are assets, the increase in asset has a corresponding decrease in asset as well. Therefore, yung effect niya, 318 increase, 318 decrease, that is 0. Equal? Accounting equation? Yes, that's an accounting equation. Okay, next. Tingnan natin. Basic transactions that usually happens kapag especially sa mga students ngayon, kapag nag-take ka ng quiz. So, dapat alam na lang yung paano journalize or i-analyze ang isang transaction. Ayan. Pedro paid 8,500 for an equipment to be used for his business. Basic din. Tingnan natin dito. What was the date? Nangyari yun. So, that was March 1, 2000. March 1. March 1, Pedro paid 8,500 for an equipment. Okay. Anong na-receive? Equipment. Kasi bumili ka kasi ng equipment. Worth 8,400. Paid. So, bayad ka ng cash. Amounting to 8,500. Effect sa ating accounting equation. Equipment is an asset account. Cash is an asset account. A debit in asset account increases the asset, but a credit in asset account decreases the asset. So, ang nangyari, nag-increase yung debit, yung asset, nag-increase yung asset at nag-decrease din yung asset. Effect, 0. No, lagay na lang natin accounting equation. A equals asset equals liabilities plus equity. No effect po sa ating liabilities and equity since nandun lang ang effect sa asset. Increase in asset and decrease in asset, that is equivalent to a 0 effect. Okay, so next transaction po natin is on April 30, 2000X, which says Pedro paid advance rental for the building where his business is situated amounting to 108,000 for 3 years. Okay, Pedro paid in advance. Okay, meaning nagbayad po tayo in advance sa ating rental for the building. Nasaan po nakasituate yung business natin. So since nag-renta lang po tayo at nagbayad tayo in advance, ang ina-account po natin dito is that there is an increase in asset. Say, April 30, 2000X. April 30, 2000X, paid in advance rent, prepaid rent. Since prepaid rent of 108, remember that this is prepaid rent, meaning at the end of the year, dapat po nating tandaan that we must make an adjusting journal and adjust one of the adjusting journal entry para po ma-recognize natin ang expense. It's all because if we will try to note or to remember, we recognize revenue or income when it is earned rather than it is collected, and we recognize expense when it is incurred rather than it is paid. Diba? Kaya, prepaid rent muna. Wala pa namang expense. Since nagbayad tayo, paid, we credit cash amounting to 100,000. Okay. Prepaid rent is an asset account, debit. Cash is an asset account, credit. Ang nangyari ngayon, nag-increase ang asset has a normal balance of debit. Debit mo is 108,000 increase, credit mo 100,000 decrease. Net effect to the accounting equation natin, that is no effect, resume. Tama? Increase, decrease, 0. Okay, so the next transaction was on September 30, 2000X. Pedro paid 500 pesos for the principal amount he borrowed last February 1. Subsequently, he paid for the interest of the said loan. Okay, so on September 30, 2000X, nagbayad daw si Pedro ng principal amount ng loan niya with the principal amount of 500 pesos. Okay, so how did we treat the transaction last February 1? Tingnan natin. Last February 1, we account that through recognizing loans payable. Since loans payable is a liability account, at ngayon, September 30 ay magbabayad tayo ng ating loan, syempre, mag-decrease na si loan. So, i-debit natin siya. Normal balance po ni liability is credit. But since babayaran natin siya at mag-decrease siya o mababawasan ng loan payable natin, dapat lang nailagay natin siya sa debit side. The amount is 500 lang muna ang binayaran. Ayan. 500 at nagbayan tayo ng cash amounting to, so yung loans payable nabawasan yung liability natin, pero nabawasan din naman yung asset natin kasi nagbayad tayo in cash amounting to 500 pesos. Okay, now, so papaano po natin i-recognize yung interest expense dito? Tingnan natin. Interest expense to be recognized in the month of September 30 nung nagbayad tayo ng principal amount na 500 pesos. Kasi sinabay niya kasing bayaran na lang eh. Yun yung sabi sa problem. Susundin natin kung ano yung sinasabi sa problem. Okay. Paano natin kukumputin ito? Since yung principal amount natin when we borrowed at the bank amounts to 8,000 pesos. 8,000 pesos yung inutang natin. Multiply po natin yan sa interest expense. I mean interest rate amounting to 12%. Magkano po makukuha natin? If you have calculator there, pwede po ninyo akong sabayan sa pag-compute natin. Para at least ma-practice po tayo on how to compute transactions like this. So 8,000 times 12% amounts to 960 pesos. Tama po ba? 8,000 times 12%, that is 960. Remember that 960 pesos is the amount that is an annual interest expense supposed to be if we will have to recognize it at the end of the year. Remember that the transaction occurred last February 1, 2000X. If you are a student now and watching this discussion, you must always see to it na binabalikan mo po yung transaction kung kailan po siya nangyari at tatandaan mo ang dates nito kasi dito po maaring pumasok ang pinakakalaban natin sa lahat if we are accounting students, if we are taking up exams or quizzes. Dito po talaga pumapasok si carelessness. Okay? Kapag nagkamali lang po tayo na hindi natin matandaan na February 1 siya nag-occur, most probably yung mangyayari dito sa 960, i-compute mo siya from January 1 to September 30. But it's not. Kasi since February 1 siya nangyari, we will have to recognize interest expense in the amount corresponding to February 1, 2000X up to September 30, 2000X. Tandaan po natin that when we are recognizing expense, yung nire-recognize lang po natin ay kung kailan kailan na-incur yung expense. Okay? So since inutang natin siya February 21, mag-start mag-incur ng interest expense February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. That is 8 months. Tama? So 960, i-divide natin ito by 12 months. Yan. Ganyan. 960 divided by 12 if you have calculator. Monthly, you have an 80 pesos. I-multiply po natin yan. I-multiply natin si 80 times 8. That is from February to September. That is 640 pesos. Was 640. C. 640. 960, i-divide ko muna siya by 12 months para makuha natin ang 80 pesos per month. I-multiply ko siya sa 8 months. 8 months. I-multiply ko siya sa 8 months since from February to September. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. That is 8 months. Okay? That is 640. How are you going to journalize this particular transaction? Okay, so yung nangyaring interest. Yung pag-incur natin sa interest. Okay? Itong gagawin natin. Interest expense 640. At since ang sabi sa problem, paid, binayaran natin cash, amounts to 600. Kagaya na nangyari po kanina when we analyze the transaction. When, here, saan po yun? Dito, the bank charges. Yung explanation po kanina. Tingnan natin naman yung explanation natin dito sa interest expense. Anong effect sa ating accounting equation? Kasi in every transaction, we must always see to it na yung accounting equation natin is equal pa rin after we analyze correctly the transaction. Loans payable, liability, decrease in liability, decrease in asset, in total, decrease, equal, decrease, equal yung nangyari sa ating accounting equation na asset equals liabilities from equity. Liabilities plus equity. Interest expense. This is an expense, meaning this is a deduction to your equity account. So yung effect nito sa ating equity, although may normal balance po siya na debit, but since yung itong interest expense ay ibinabawas natin sa ating income or revenue, a decrease in expense is a decrease in equity. So effect niya is decrease. And cash is an asset account. Since nagbayad tayo, nag-decrease ang ating asset. So, decrease. So, equal pa rin ang ating accounting equation. Okay? So, ganun po yun. Remember that usually, if you are studying business courses now, na merong mga ganitong transaction, this is helpful po sa inyo para at least may idea kung paano i-journalize or i-trade ang isang transaction, paano siya i-analyze. So usually sa mga problems, for the sake of for problem purposes, for quizzes or exams, usually mga ganito yung nangyayari, yung nakikita natin transactions. So dapat kayo as a student, aware kayo kung ano yung sinasabi sa problem. You must always analyze the problem, take into account the effects of the accounts sa ating accounting equation. Always go back doon sa ating accounting equation para hindi po kayo mawala. Dapat alam din po ninyo yung mga normal balances. Assets, normal balance is debit. Liabilities, normal balance is credit. Equity, normal balance is credit. Isa sa part ng FS, yung income statement. Those accounts na makikita po ninyo doon ay a clean or close or at the end of the year ay isinasarado po yan doon sa equity account. So whatever kung ano man po ang resulta ng operation ng company, whether it is income or loss, so pumapasok po yun doon sa equity. So whatever increase in sales or income, that is an increase in equity. Whatever decrease in expenses increases the equity. Syempre, kasi kung nagbaba ang ating expense, normally i-increase or tataas ang ating income. Kaya tumaas si income, tataas din ang ating equity. So we must take note of that. Actually, yung mga classification, if you are still confused, I will try to make a particular video to explain to you kung ano pa yung other explanation about yung effects doon sa ating accounting equation. So meron tayong separate na video na gagawin para dyan. Okay, so again, if you like this video, kung nasusundan po ninyo ako, you can subscribe and hit the bell button for new uploads or updates.